Hey there, welcome in. Go ahead and get comfortable wherever you happen to be right now. Maybe you're tucked under a heavy blanket. Maybe you've got just one pillow the way you like it. Maybe the lights are already low and the room has gone soft and quiet around you. However you're settled, that's exactly right. There's nothing you need to fix or adjust. You've already done the hardest part of the day, which was simply getting to this moment, this little pocket of calm where nothing is being asked of you at all. Tonight, you and I are going to drift somewhere very far away. We're going out past the roof over your head, past the clouds, past the thin blue edge of the sky, out into the deep and patient dark where the stars live. And we're going to talk, slowly and gently, about galaxies. Not just any galaxies, though. We're going to spend our time with the strange ones, the ones that don't quite behave, the ones that, honestly, seem to bend or break the rules of physics that everything else in the universe is supposed to follow. It sounds dramatic, I know, but I promise you, this is going to be the calmest journey you've taken in a while. There's no rush out here. Space has all the time in the world, and so do we. But before we set off, let me say one quick thing, and then I'll let you sink right back down into the quiet. If these slow, sleepy journeys help you drift off, if they've ever carried you softly from a busy mind into a good night's rest, it would mean the world if you tap that like button and subscribe. That tiny gesture is what lets me keep doing this. Keep sending these little voyages out into the night for people just like you. Because that's the whole reason I'm here, to help you rest, one sleepy soul at a time. That's it. That's the only mission. And now that that's out of the way, you can let it go completely. You don't have to think about anything else for the rest of our time together. So let's begin, softly. Take a slow breath in, if you'd like. Let it fill you up, gently, without any effort, and then let it go, even more slowly than you took it in. Feel how your shoulders drop just a little as the air leaves. Feel the weight of your body settling down into whatever's holding you. The mattress, the couch, the chair. Notice how it's holding you completely, so you don't have to hold yourself up anymore. You can hand all of that weight over now. Let the surface beneath you do the work. There's nothing left for your muscles to do tonight. Now imagine, if it feels nice to, that the ceiling above you has quietly faded away. It hasn't fallen. Nothing's broken. It's just softened and dissolved like mist in the morning. And above you, there's open sky. Not the harsh, bright sky of daytime, but the deep, velvet dark of a clear night far from any city. The kind of sky you only really see when you're somewhere very still. A quiet field, maybe, or a mountainside, or a small boat drifting on calm water. And in that sky, more stars than you could ever count, thousands upon thousands of them, scattered across the black like grains of sugar spilled across dark cloth. Some of them steady, some of them shimmering ever so slightly, all of them impossibly, peacefully far away. Here's something worth sitting with, gently, as you look up. Almost every one of those little points of light is a sun, a star of its own, some smaller than ours, some so enormous that if you set one where our sun sits, it would swallow the whole space where the planets orbit. And each of those stars belongs to a family, a great, slow-turning gathering of stars, all bound together, all drifting through the dark as one. We call those families galaxies. And our own star, the sun that warms your part of the world each day, is just one member of one such family. We call ours the Milky Way. It's home. It's the galaxy you were born inside, the one you've lived your entire life within, even on the nights you never once looked up. And it's a big home. Try to picture this, but softly, without straining. Our galaxy holds somewhere between 100 billion and 400 billion stars. That's not a number your mind is really built to feel, and that's okay. You don't need to feel the whole of it. Just let it wash over you the way you'd let the sound of distant waves wash over you. A number so large, it stops being a number and simply becomes a kind of vastness, a gentle, endless vastness that's been turning quietly overhead your whole life, whether you were watching or not. Our Milky Way is shaped a bit like a great spinning disk. Picture a pinwheel, the kind a child might hold, turning slowly in a summer breeze. It has long, curving arms that sweep out from a bright and crowded center. And those arms are made of stars and glowing gas and clouds of dust drifting between the suns. We live out in one of those arms, quite far from the middle, in a fairly calm and unremarkable neighborhood. And I mean that in the kindest way. Calm and unremarkable is a lovely place to be. It's peaceful out here on the edge, away from the crowded, busy heart of things. In a way, our whole solar system is tucked into a quiet corner of the galaxy, resting just the way you're resting now. And that pinwheel, that whole enormous disk of hundreds of billions of stars, is turning. Slowly, so slowly that if you watched it for your entire life, you'd never see it move at all. Our sun, carrying the Earth and all of us along with it, is sweeping around the center of the galaxy at a speed that's hard to even imagine. And yet a single full turn, one lap around the galactic center, takes something like 230 million years. Let that settle for a moment. The last time our sun was in the spot it's in right now, there were no people. There were barely any of the creatures you'd recognize. The world was young and strange. That's how slow and how vast this great turning is. And through all of it, the galaxy has just kept spinning, patiently, without ever once being in a hurry. There's something restful in that, isn't there? A reminder that the universe is in no rush at all. And tonight, neither are you. Now, for a long, long time, people looked up at that soft band of hazy light stretched across the summer sky, that faint river of glow we call the Milky Way, and they had no idea what they were seeing. They didn't know it was made of stars. They didn't know it was a galaxy, or that our sun lived inside it. They told stories about it instead. Spilled milk across the heavens, a path for spirits to walk, a river of light. And honestly, those old stories weren't so far from the truth in their own gentle way. It really is a river of light. It's just a river made of suns. And here's the thing that took us the longest to understand. And it's the thing that opens the door to everything we'll talk about tonight. For most of human history, people assumed that our galaxy was the whole universe, that the Milky Way was everything there was. All those stars, that great turning disk, and beyond it, nothing, just empty dark forever. It was a reasonable thing to believe. When you can't see past your own home, it's easy to imagine your home is all that exists. But it wasn't, not even close. Only about 100 years ago, which really isn't very long at all, we finally understood that some of those faint, fuzzy little smudges in the sky, the ones that didn't look quite like stars, weren't part of our galaxy at all. They were other galaxies, whole other families of billions of stars, each one impossibly far away, each one turning slowly in the dark, just like ours. And once we understood that, the universe suddenly got so much bigger, so much deeper, so much more full. Because it turns out, there aren't just a handful of other galaxies out there. There are billions of them, maybe 2 trillion of them, scattered across the cosmos, each one holding its own uncountable multitude of stars. Take a breath with that. 2 trillion galaxies, each one a Milky Way of its own, more or less. Each one with its own hundreds of billions of suns. Each one with its own quiet corners where perhaps someone or something is resting, just as you are, under a sky just as full of wonder. It's the kind of thought that could feel overwhelming in the bright light of day. But here, now, in the soft dark, it's the opposite. It's comforting. You are a small and peaceful part of something almost unimaginably large and beautiful. And it has been humming along gently for billions of years. And it will keep humming along gently long after this quiet night has passed. You don't have to hold any of it up. You don't have to understand all of it. You only have to rest inside it. And most of those galaxies, honestly, behave themselves. They follow the rules. They spin the way galaxies are supposed to spin. They form the shapes galaxies are supposed to form. They live and glow and slowly drift the way our own Milky Way does. Elegant spirals with sweeping arms. Great smooth ovals of old golden stars. Little scattered clouds of light. Most of them make a kind of quiet sense to the people who study them. But not all of them. Some galaxies, tucked away in the far corners of the cosmos, do things they aren't supposed to be able to do. There are galaxies that seem to spin far too fast. So fast that by every rule, we know they should tear themselves apart and fling their stars off into the dark. And yet somehow, they hold together anyway, calm as anything. There are galaxies that appear to be almost entirely empty, ghostly things you can nearly see straight through, with hardly any stars at all. There are galaxies that shouldn't be where they are, or shouldn't be as old as they are, or shouldn't shine the way they shine. There are galaxies that seem to have no center where a center ought to be, and galaxies with hearts so bright and so fierce they can be seen clear across the entire universe. And there are galaxies that, by our best understanding, should not exist at all. And yet there they are, drifting quietly in the deep dark, not caring one bit that they've broken the rules. Those are the galaxies we're going to visit tonight. The rule breakers, the oddballs, the gentle mysteries that have left even the most brilliant minds scratching their heads and wondering what exactly is really going on out there. And I promise, we're going to wander among them slowly, one at a time, with no hurry and no worry. You don't need to remember any of it. You don't need to follow every thread. You can let the words drift over you like a warm current. And if you fall asleep somewhere along the way, well, that's not a failure. That's the whole point. That's the best possible ending to our journey. Because here's the truth about all of this. These strange galaxies, as wild and improbable as they are, they're not troubled by their own mysteries. They just go on being what they are, spinning too fast, or glowing too bright, or holding themselves together against all reason. And they've been doing it peacefully for longer than the Earth has existed. There's a deep calm in that. The universe is full of things we don't fully understand, and it carries on just fine anyway, softly and without complaint. Maybe there's a small lesson tucked in there for us, for those nights when our own lives feel like they aren't quite following the rules either. We can hold together anyway. We can keep turning gently through the dark. So for now, just stay here with me, in this warm and quiet place. Let your breathing settle into something slow and even. Let your thoughts loosen and drift, the way those far-off galaxies drift, unhurried, untroubled, at peace. There's nowhere you need to be but here, and nothing you need to do but rest. In a moment, we'll take our first slow step out into the strange and beautiful edges of the cosmos to meet the first of these galaxies that break the rules. But there's no rush to get there. We have all the time in the world, and the stars aren't going anywhere. They've been waiting for billions of years. They can wait a little longer while you settle in and soften and let the day finally slip away behind you. Just keep breathing, slow and easy. And let's drift on together, out toward the quiet, rule-breaking dark. So let's take that first slow step now, out past the edge of everything familiar, and go meet a galaxy that really shouldn't behave the way it does. The first one we're going to visit is a spinning galaxy, a great wheel of stars turning in the dark. And to understand why it breaks the rules, you have to picture something simple and gentle first. Think about swinging a small stone around on the end of a string. As long as you hold the string tight, the stone circles around your hand, round and round. But the moment you let go, the stone flies off in a straight line, out into the distance. The string is the only thing keeping it from escaping. Now, a galaxy works a little like that, except the string is made of gravity. Every star in that spinning wheel is held in its orbit by the pull of all the other stuff in the galaxy, tugging it gently inward, keeping it from flying off into the emptiness. And for a long, long time, we thought we understood exactly how strong that pull ought to be. Here's the thing, though. When astronomers looked closely at how fast the stars on the outer edges of these galaxies were moving, the numbers just didn't add up. The stars way out at the rim were racing around far too quickly. By all the counting we could do, adding up every star, every glowing cloud of gas, every bit of light and matter we could actually see, there simply wasn't enough stuff there to hold those fast-moving stars in place. The string, so to speak, wasn't strong enough. Those outer stars should have gone flinging off into the dark, like the stone leaving your hand, and the whole beautiful spiral should have slowly unraveled and come apart. But it doesn't. It just keeps turning, calm and whole, exactly as it has for billions of years. And that little mystery, that quiet mismatch between what we can see and what we can measure, turned out to be one of the biggest puzzles in all of science, because the only way to explain it, the only way to make the sums work, was to imagine that there's something else out there, something we can't see at all, something invisible, wrapped all around and through the galaxy, like a vast unseen cushion, adding its own gentle pull, holding everything together. We gave this invisible something a name. We call it dark matter. And honestly, that name is really just a polite way of admitting that we don't know what it is. It doesn't glow. It doesn't cast a shadow. It doesn't shine or flicker or reflect the light of the stars. It doesn't seem to bump into things the way ordinary matter does. It just drifts there, silent and unseen, quietly holding galaxies together with the soft, patient tug of its gravity. If our best guesses are right, there's actually far more of this invisible stuff in the universe than there is of everything we can see. All the stars, all the planets, all the glowing clouds and blazing suns, all of it put together is just a small fraction of what's really out there. The rest is dark and quiet and hidden. Isn't that a lovely thought to rest with? That most of the universe is something gentle and invisible, something that asks for no attention, makes no light, and simply holds things together from the shadows. It's a bit like the quietest, kindest people you've ever known, the ones who never need to be seen, never need to be loud, but who somehow keep everything from falling apart just by being there. The whole cosmos, it turns out, is mostly made of that quiet, steady presence in the dark. Now you'd think that would be the end of the story. A tidy answer. Galaxies spin too fast, so there must be invisible matter holding them together. And every galaxy must have its own soft cushion of the stuff. Case closed, off to sleep. But the universe, being the gentle trickster that it is, had another surprise waiting. Because a little while ago, astronomers found a galaxy that seemed to have almost no dark matter at all. Let that settle for a moment, softly. For years, dark matter had been the thing that explained everything. Every galaxy we studied seemed to be swimming in it, cradled by it. It was so reliably there that some people started to wonder if a galaxy could even exist without it. And then along came this one faint, faraway galaxy, a pale and ghostly thing. And when they measured how its stars were moving, the stars were drifting along slow and easy, exactly as gently as you'd expect, if the only thing pulling on them was the ordinary visible matter you could actually see. No invisible cushion, no hidden extra pull, just the stars and the gentle gravity of one another, and nothing more. And that, strangely, was almost more baffling than a galaxy having too much of the invisible stuff. Because if dark matter is everywhere, woven into everything, holding all the galaxies together, then how on earth do you make a galaxy that somehow got left without any? It's a bit like finding a lake with no water in it, and yet somehow it's still a lake. The very thing that was supposed to explain all the galaxies had gone missing from this one, and its absence raised just as many soft, floating questions as its presence ever had. Some astronomers wondered if maybe this galaxy had its dark matter stripped away, pulled off by some larger neighbor passing close by in the deep past, like a gust of wind carrying off a bit of mist. Others wondered if we'd measured something wrong, if the distances were off, if the whole thing was a kind of cosmic trick of perspective. And a few even wondered, very quietly, whether dark matter is really the right answer at all, or whether we're missing something deeper about the way gravity itself works across those enormous, unimaginable distances. Nobody knows for sure. The debate drifts on, unhurried, the way these things do, and the little galaxy just keeps on being what it is, out there in the dark, perfectly content to be a puzzle. Let's drift a bit further now, deeper into that soft cosmic sea, to meet a whole family of galaxies that are strange in a different, dreamier way. These are the ones I mentioned earlier, the ghostly ones, the ones you could very nearly see straight through. We call them ultra-diffuse galaxies, which is a fancy way of saying they're spread impossibly thin. Picture an ordinary galaxy, packed with hundreds of billions of stars, all glowing together so brightly that from far away it looks like a solid, shining smudge of light. Now imagine taking all those stars and spreading them out, thinner and thinner, over a space just as wide as the whole galaxy, until the stars are so sparse, so far apart from one another, that the galaxy almost fades into nothing. That's what these ghostly ones are like. Some of them are as wide across as our own Milky Way, as vast and sprawling as a galaxy full of hundreds of billions of stars, and yet they contain only a tiny handful by comparison. They're huge and empty and faint, like a whisper of a galaxy rather than a shout. They're so dim and so spread out that for the longest time we didn't even notice they were there. They hid in plain sight, blending into the darkness of the background sky, too faint to catch our eye. It was only when our telescopes and our cameras grew patient enough, sensitive enough to gather the very faintest light, that these ghostly giants slowly swam into view, like shapes appearing gently out of a morning fog. And when we found them, we found a lot of them. It turned out the universe was quietly full of these pale, transparent things, drifting along all this time, waiting to be seen. And here's the gentle mystery of them, something that thin, something that faint and loosely held, really ought to fall apart. As these ghostly galaxies drift through space, they pass by bigger, heavier galaxies, and the gravity of those larger neighbors should tug at them and pull them to pieces, scattering their few stars like dandelion seeds on the wind. A galaxy spread that thin should be fragile, delicate, easily undone. And yet many of them hold together anyway, staying whole and intact for billions of years, which brings us right back, softly, to that invisible friend of ours, the dark matter. Some of these ghostly galaxies seem to be almost entirely made of the stuff, just a faint sprinkle of visible stars floating inside an enormous, unseen cocoon of the invisible kind. And it's that hidden cocoon that holds them gently together against all the tugging and pulling of the wider universe. So we have galaxies with too little dark matter, and galaxies that seem to be made of almost nothing but. The universe, it seems, likes to keep us guessing, and it does it all so calmly, so quietly, never in any rush to give up its secrets. Now let me tell you about one particular ghostly galaxy, because it's one of my favorites to think about as I'm drifting off. It doesn't have a lovely name, just a string of letters and numbers, the way so many of these distant things do. But never mind that. What matters is this: it's so faint, so gently transparent, that astronomers found they could look right through it and see the galaxies far behind it, shining softly on the other side, as if they were peering through a pane of very old, very thin glass. Imagine that, a galaxy you can see through. Something as grand as an entire island of stars, and yet so delicate and dim that the light of the deeper universe passes right on through it, barely touched. There's something so peaceful about that image, isn't there? A vast thing that lets the light pass through, that holds itself together so gently you'd hardly know it was there at all. And you know, the more you wander among these galaxies, the more you start to notice that they don't seem troubled by any of it. Not one of them is worried about spinning too fast, or being too empty, or breaking the rules we've written down in our books. They simply carry on. The spinning ones keep spinning. The ghostly ones keep drifting. The ones without their invisible cushions and the ones swimming in it, they all just go on being exactly what they are, turning slowly through the endless dark, in no hurry to be understood. It makes you realize how much of the universe is like that. Quiet, patient, unbothered by whether it makes sense to us or not. We look up, or we point our telescopes out into the deep, and we scratch our heads and puzzle over these strange and lovely things. And all the while, they just keep on drifting, calm as still water, as they have since long before there was anyone here to wonder about them at all. They were breaking the rules for billions of years before we ever came along to notice. And they'll go on breaking them for billions more after we've gone, gently, without any fuss. There's a real comfort in that, I think, especially at the end of a long day. The knowledge that the big, wheeling, turning universe out there doesn't need us to watch over it. It doesn't need us to solve its mysteries tonight, or to keep an eye on it while we sleep. It gets along perfectly well on its own, softly and steadily, whether we're awake or dreaming. So there's nothing out there for you to hold on to, nothing you need to keep track of. You can let it all go, the whole vast spinning lot of it, and trust that it will carry on turning gently in the dark without any help from you at all. Let's keep wandering, slow and easy, a little deeper still. Because up ahead, drifting in the quiet, there are galaxies stranger yet. Galaxies that shouldn't be as old as they are. Galaxies that appeared far too early, back when the universe was still very young, still finding its feet. And yet there they are, already grown, already glowing, as if they'd skipped all the waiting and arrived long before their time. To reach them, we're going to drift back through an almost unimaginable stretch of the past, so far back that the light we see from them left on its journey before the Earth, or the Sun, or any of the planets around us had even begun to form. But there's no rush to get there. We'll drift toward them the way starlight itself drifts, slow and patient and utterly unhurried, taking all the time in the world. For now, just stay here, soft and easy, floating in the warm dark with the ghostly galaxies drifting all around you, seeing straight through them to the gentle lights beyond. Let the numbers and the names and the mysteries wash over you and away, like a slow tide going out. You don't have to hold on to any of it. It's enough just to be here, drifting quietly among these strange and peaceful things, letting the universe turn softly on without you, as we wander on together toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. Let's drift on then, slow and unhurried, out toward those galaxies that showed up far too early. But before we get there, let me tell you a little about how we even measure such a thing, because it's one of the loveliest ideas in all of astronomy, and it's a gentle one, the kind you can turn over softly in your mind as you sink deeper into the pillow. When you look up at a star, you're not really seeing it as it is right now. You're seeing it as it was, sometimes a long, long time ago. Light is quick, quicker than anything else there is, but it isn't instant. It takes its time crossing the great empty spaces between the stars. So when the light from a distant sun finally reaches your eye, it has been traveling for years, sometimes for thousands of years, sometimes for millions. Which means that every time you look up at the night sky, you're really looking backward into the past, at a kind of picture of how things used to be. The farther away something is, the older the picture. Isn't that a soft and strange thing to think about? That the night sky is a little like an old photograph album, with the nearest pages showing us just yesterday, and the farthest pages showing us a time before there was anyone here at all. So when astronomers want to peer back into the deep past, into the earliest days of the universe, they don't need a time machine. They just need to look very, very far away. The farther out they point their telescopes, the further back in time they see. And if they look far enough, out past the nearest galaxies, out past the ones beyond those, out past almost everything, they can catch the faint, tired light of galaxies as they were when the universe itself was still brand new. That light has been drifting toward us patiently for billions of years, crossing an ocean of darkness so wide it's almost impossible to hold in your mind. And it's only just now arriving, only just now landing softly on the mirror of some quiet telescope on a mountaintop. Now, here's the part that makes astronomers scratch their heads. For a long time, we thought we understood how galaxies grow up. We thought it happened slowly, the way most good things do. In the beginning, not long after everything started, the universe was a warm, thick fog, a smooth soup of gas spread out evenly in every direction. There were no stars yet, no galaxies, nothing to see, just this soft, glowing mist filling all of space. And then, ever so gradually, gravity began its patient work. In the places where the gas was just a tiny bit thicker than everywhere else, it started to pull itself together, gathering slowly, drawing inward little by little over enormous stretches of time. Clumps formed. The clumps grew heavier. They pulled in more gas and more, and slowly, slowly, over hundreds of millions of years, the first stars flickered into life, and the first small galaxies began to take shape. That's the story we told ourselves, and it's a gentle one. Galaxies were supposed to build up the way a snowball builds up when a child rolls it across a field, gathering a little more with every turn, growing bigger and bigger, but always slowly, always taking its time. A big, grand galaxy like our Milky Way, full of hundreds of billions of stars, wasn't something you could just have overnight. It took ages. It took the better part of the whole history of the universe to assemble something that large and that bright. That was the rule. Big galaxies are old. They take a long, long time to grow. You wouldn't expect to find a fully grown, brightly shining, enormous galaxy back in the very early days, when the universe was still just a baby. That would be a bit like walking into a nursery and finding a grown adult already sitting there, fully formed, as if they'd skipped all the growing up entirely. And yet, that's more or less what we found. Rest easy, though. This isn't a frightening thing. Not at all. It's just one of those lovely little puzzles the universe likes to hand us, quietly, when we least expect it. Let it drift through your mind softly, the way a cloud drifts across the moon. When we built our newest, most powerful telescope and sent it far out beyond the Earth, out to a cold, quiet spot in space, where it could see more clearly than anything we'd ever made before. We pointed it at the deepest, darkest, emptiest looking patch of sky we could find. Just a tiny little square of nothing, a spot that looked completely blank to the naked eye. No stars, no light, nothing at all. And we let the telescope stare at that empty little patch for a long, long while, gathering up every faint whisper of light that had been drifting toward it for billions of years. And slowly, out of the darkness, faint shapes began to appear. Galaxies, old ones, some of the oldest and most distant things anyone has ever seen. Now, We expected to find galaxies out there. That wasn't the surprise. The surprise was what they looked like, because some of these galaxies, glowing faintly from a time when the universe was only a few 100 million years old, just a small fraction of its present age, were far bigger and far brighter than they had any right to be. They were already full of stars, great crowds of them, far too many to have formed in the short time that had passed. It was as if they'd grown up in a fraction of the time everyone thought it should take, as if someone had pressed fast forward on just those few galaxies while the rest of the universe took things slow. Astronomers looked at the numbers, and then they looked again, and then they rubbed their eyes and looked a third time, because it really didn't seem to add up. Here were galaxies that appeared to hold as many stars as some of the grand galaxies near us today. And yet they existed at a time when there simply shouldn't have been enough time for all those stars to form. It's a bit like finding a great old oak tree, wide and tall and heavy with leaves, growing in a garden that was only planted last week. You'd stand there and blink and wonder how on earth it got so big so fast. Some people started calling them impossible galaxies. Though of course, they aren't really impossible, since there they are, plain as day, shining out of the deep past. Impossible is just the word we reach for when the universe does something we weren't expecting. What they really are is a gentle reminder that our story about how galaxies grow up might be missing a piece or two. Maybe the early universe was better at making stars than we thought. Maybe those first clouds of gas came together more quickly, more eagerly than our tidy little snowball story allowed for. Maybe things were warmer, or thicker, or arranged in some way that let galaxies leap ahead, skipping the slow years and arriving early to the party, already grown, already glowing. Or maybe, and this is the part I like best, maybe we're measuring something in a way that fools us just a little, and these galaxies aren't quite as heavy as they first appear. Sometimes a light that looks very bright is just closer, or aimed more directly at us, or shining through in a way that makes it seem grander than it is. The astronomers are still working all this out, gently, patiently, the way they work out everything, checking and rechecking, comparing notes, letting the answer come in its own good time. There's no hurry. The galaxies have waited billions of years for us to notice them. They can wait a little longer while we puzzle over exactly what they are. And that's really the loveliest thing about it all. There's no alarm in any of this, no crisis, nothing to worry over. It's just the universe being a little more interesting than we assumed, a little more surprising, a little more full of quiet wonders than our neat and tidy rules could hold. Every time we think we've got it all figured out, we look a bit further, or a bit more carefully, and there's some soft new mystery waiting for us, drifting patiently in the dark, in no rush at all to explain itself. Picture one of those early galaxies now, if you like, but softly, without any effort. Imagine drifting toward it across all that unthinkable distance, across all those billions of years, the light growing slowly clearer as you approach. It hangs there in the deep, a great soft glow of countless stars, warm and golden and old beyond words, and yet young too. Impossibly young, shining out from the very morning of the universe. It doesn't know it's not supposed to be there. It doesn't know it broke our rules. It just turns quietly in the dark, doing what it has always done, being exactly what it is, glowing gently across the vast and patient emptiness, the way it has since almost the very beginning of everything. And you can just float there beside it for a while, weightless and calm, watching it turn. There's nothing you need to figure out, nothing you need to hold on to. The astronomers back home will keep working on the puzzle, slowly, carefully, and one day they'll understand it a little better. And that day will come whether you're awake for it or fast asleep. It doesn't need your attention tonight. None of it does. The great glowing wheels of the early universe will keep on shining softly, whether anyone is watching or not, whether anyone understands them or not, as calm and steady as they've always been. Let that thought settle over you now, warm and heavy, like a blanket pulled up to your chin. The universe is old and patient and full of gentle surprises, and not a single one of them requires anything from you. You don't have to solve them. You don't have to remember them. You can let every fact and every figure drift right out of your mind, like leaves floating away on slow water. And it won't matter at all, because these strange and lovely galaxies will go on being strange and lovely without any help from you whatsoever. Just breathe now, slow and easy. In, gently, filling up like a soft tide coming in. And out, just as gently, letting everything loosen and sink. There's nowhere you need to be, but here, drifting quietly in the warm dark, with the oldest light in the universe washing over you like the faintest, gentlest glow. Let your shoulders grow heavy. Let your hands fall open. Let that early, golden light drift past you and away, carrying with it every thought you don't need to hold. Because up ahead, further still, deeper into the quiet, there are yet stranger things waiting. Galaxies that seem to have no beginning we can find. Galaxies that shine with a light that shouldn't be possible, powered by something hidden away at their very hearts. Something small and dark and unimaginably heavy, pulling everything around it into a slow and silent spiral. We'll drift toward those two, in a while, in no hurry at all, the way we drift toward everything on these slow journeys through the dark. But not just yet. For now, stay here, soft and easy, floating in the warm glow of the oldest galaxies, the ones that arrived far too early and never once worried about it, as we wander on together, slow and patient and utterly unhurried, toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. So let's drift on now, slowly, the way we've been drifting all along, in no hurry at all, toward that next strange light waiting up ahead. You remember, the one I mentioned before you started to soften and sink, a galaxy that shines with a brightness that shouldn't quite be possible, powered by something hidden away at its very center. Let's go and see it together, gently, with nothing to prove and nowhere to be. Now most galaxies are quiet things, really. They turn in the dark, they hold their stars close, and they glow with the soft, steady light of all those countless suns burning away inside them. That light is warm and even, spread out across the whole great wheel, and it's a peaceful kind of glow, the kind you could watch for a very long time and never grow tired of. But some galaxies, tucked here and there across the deep, have a light that comes from somewhere else entirely. A light that doesn't come from the stars at all. A light that pours out of a single tiny point right at the heart of everything, so bright that it can outshine every single star in the galaxy put together, billions upon billions of suns. And yet this one small point at the center burns brighter than all of them combined. Just picture that for a moment, softly, without straining after it. A whole galaxy, vast beyond imagining, and somehow the brightest thing in it isn't the ocean of stars, but one small glowing speck right at its core. It seems backwards, doesn't it? Like a single candle in a great dark room somehow shining brighter than the sun outside. And for a long while, when astronomers first found these things, they had no idea what they were looking at. They saw these points of light out in the deep, so far away and so impossibly bright, and they simply couldn't work out how anything so small could pour out so much light. They gave them a name that just meant something star-like, something that looked like a star, but clearly wasn't. We call them quasars, and honestly, the name doesn't matter much tonight. What matters is the strange and gentle truth of what's hiding at the middle of them. Because here's the thing, and it's a lovely thing to rest with. At the center of one of these blazing galaxies, there sits something small and dark and unimaginably heavy. Something so heavy that the numbers barely mean anything to us anymore. Imagine taking the sun, our own sun, the one that warms your face on a slow afternoon, and then imagine gathering up millions of them, or even billions of them, all together in one place. And then imagine squeezing all of that, all those suns, all that weight, down into a single point so small and so dense that not even light can pull itself free. That's what's sitting there, quiet and patient, at the heart of these galaxies. We call it a black hole, and it's about the darkest, calmest, most mysterious thing the universe has ever made. Now you might think something so heavy, something that swallows light itself, would be a violent and frightening thing. But try to let that worry go, because from far away, from where we're drifting tonight, it isn't frightening at all. It's just still. It just sits there at the center, turning slowly, holding everything around it in a long, patient embrace. The stars near it swing around it in great slow circles, the way the planets swing around our sun, tracing out these enormous, lazy orbits across millions of years. There's no hurry to any of it. There's no struggle. It's one of the most peaceful things you could ever picture, if you only look at it gently enough. And the brightness, that impossible brightness we talked about, it doesn't come from the black hole itself, because nothing comes out of a black hole, not even a whisper of light. No, the brightness comes from everything gathered around it, all the gas and dust drawn slowly inward, swirling in a great glowing disk, like water circling ever so gently toward the center of a very slow drain. As all that material spirals in, closer and closer, it warms and it glows, brighter and brighter, until it's pouring out more light than a whole galaxy of stars. So the very thing that swallows light is also, in a strange and roundabout way, the thing that makes the brightest light in the whole cosmos. Darkness at the center, and a great warm glow all around it. There's something almost gentle about that, isn't there? Something quietly poetic in the way the universe puts its opposites side by side. For a long time, this was the puzzle. How do you get a black hole so enormous? Because these aren't ordinary black holes, the kind left behind when a single star burns out and collapses. These are giants, millions or billions of times heavier than our sun, and it takes a very long time to grow something that big. You have to feed it, slowly, patiently, gas and dust and stars, one bite at a time across the long ages of the universe. And that's fine. That's what we expected, because the universe is old, older than we can really feel in our bones. And it's had plenty of time to grow these great dark hearts at the centers of its galaxies. But then, as you might have guessed by now, the universe went and surprised us again, softly, the way it always seems to. Because when we looked very, very far away, which as you know means looking very far back in time, we found some of these enormous black holes shining out of the early universe. Far too early. Back when the universe was still young, still fresh, still finding its feet, there simply shouldn't have been enough time to grow something so vast and so heavy. And yet there they were, already enormous, already blazing away, when by all our careful reckoning, they should still have been small. It's a little like walking into a room and finding a great ancient oak tree, wide and tall and heavy with years, growing in a garden that was only planted last week. It just doesn't seem to fit. Let that little mystery drift over you now, soft and untroubling, because it isn't a problem you need to solve tonight. The astronomers are working on it, slowly, carefully, the way they work on everything. Some of them think maybe these black holes started out much bigger than we thought, born already heavy from great clouds of gas collapsing straight down into the dark, skipping the slow business of stars altogether. Others say maybe they simply fed faster in those early days, gorging themselves on all the gas that filled the young universe, growing quicker than we ever imagined they could. And some think, well, perhaps we've got our measurements a little tangled, and these things aren't quite as heavy or quite as old as they first appear. Any of those might turn out to be true, and it really doesn't matter which. Not for you, not tonight. Because whatever the answer is, the black holes themselves aren't troubled by it in the slightest. They just sit there at the hearts of their galaxies, turning slow and silent, doing exactly what they've always done, being exactly what they are. They don't know they arrived too early. They don't know they've broken any rules. They simply hold their galaxies together from the shadows, drawing everything into that long, patient spiral, glowing warm and bright at the edges while staying dark and still at the very center. There's a deep kind of calm in that, if you let yourself feel it. The heaviest, strangest things in all the universe, and they carry it all so lightly, so quietly, without any fuss at all. So let yourself grow heavy too now. The way they are, let your body sink a little deeper into wherever you're resting, soft and easy, held gently in place, going nowhere at all. There's no spiral pulling at you, nothing drawing you in, just the warm dark all around you, and the slow, steady rhythm of your own breathing. In, gently, filling up like a soft tide coming in, and out, just as gently, letting everything loosen and settle. Feel how heavy your arms have become, how heavy your legs, how your whole body seems to be sinking into something warm and safe and still. You don't have to hold yourself up. You don't have to hold anything up. Let it all rest. And picture, if you like, that great glowing disk of light turning slowly around its dark and quiet heart, so far away, so peaceful, spinning across the ages without the slightest need for you to watch it. It was there long before anyone thought to look for it, and it'll be there long after we've all drifted off to sleep. It doesn't need your worry. It doesn't need your attention. It only glows softly out in the deep, one small, warm light among 2 trillion others, all of them turning quietly in the dark, all of them getting along perfectly well without a single thought from you tonight. There's something so restful in that, isn't there? The idea that all these vast and heavy and impossible things are out there taking care of themselves, spinning and glowing and holding together, needing nothing from us at all. You can set down every question. You can set down every fact and figure I've shared with you. Let them all float away like leaves on slow water, and none of it will come to any harm. The black holes will keep their long, patient watch. The bright disks will keep on glowing. The oldest galaxies will keep on turning, and you can just rest here, now, in the warm quiet, with nothing to carry and nowhere to be. And before you drift down any deeper, I'd love it if you did just one small, easy thing. Whenever it suits you, no rush at all. If you've got a favorite corner of the night sky, or a strange bit of the cosmos that fills you with quiet wonder, or even just a thought that floated up while we've been wandering together tonight, let me know down in the comments. I read them gently, the way you'd read a note left by a friend. And there's something lovely about knowing who's out there drifting off alongside me in the dark. So whenever you wake, soft and rested, leave a little word if you feel like it, and tell me where you'd like us to wander next. But for now, stay just as you are, soft and heavy and warm, floating quietly beside that great dark heart and its gentle glow, as we drift on together, slow and patient and utterly unhurried, toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. And here's the next one, drifting up out of the quiet to meet us, soft and slow, in no hurry at all. This one breaks a rule you might not even have known was a rule, and it does it in the gentlest way imaginable. You see, when astronomers picture how a galaxy comes together, they usually think of it a bit like a spinning top or a record turning on an old player, everything moving the same way, all in agreement. The stars go one way, the gas goes the same way. The whole great disk turns together in one smooth, patient circle. That's how it's supposed to work. That's the tidy picture we carry around in our heads. But out there, far away in the dark, there's a galaxy where the stars and the gas can't seem to agree on which way to go. Picture it softly, the way you'd picture two slow rivers flowing past each other in opposite directions, one drifting gently to the left, the other easing quietly to the right, and neither one bothered in the least by the other. In this galaxy, the older stars turn one way, calm and steady, and a great ribbon of fresh gas turns the other, sliding past them the wrong way around. Astronomers call this a counter-rotating disk, which is just a fancy way of saying that part of it spins backward. And the wonderful thing is, it doesn't tear itself apart. It doesn't grind to a halt. It just keeps on turning, two directions at once, perfectly content, like a dancer who somehow moves both ways and never loses the rhythm. How does something like that happen? Well, the gentlest guess is that long, long ago, this galaxy quietly swallowed up a river of gas from somewhere else, drawn in from the deep, and that new gas came drifting in, spinning the wrong way. And instead of a great crash, instead of any drama at all, the galaxy simply took it in and carried on, letting the two motions live side by side. There's something so restful in that, don't you think? The idea that even a galaxy can hold two opposite things at once and stay perfectly whole, perfectly calm, turning softly through the ages without a single complaint. Let that thought drift over you now, warm and easy. and let your own mind settle into that same gentle stillness, where nothing needs to agree, nothing needs to be resolved, where you can simply let everything be exactly as it is. Now let yourself sink a little further, soft and heavy, as we drift toward another strange and lovely thing waiting for us in the dark. This next one has to do with size, and with just how big a galaxy is allowed to be. Because most galaxies, when you measure them, fall into a sort of comfortable range. Our own Milky Way stretches about 100,000 light years from one side to the other, which is already so vast that light itself, the fastest thing there is, takes 100,000 years just to cross it. That's a number too big to really hold in your hands, so don't try. Just let it wash over you, soft and enormous, and know that it's still, in the grand scheme of things, a fairly ordinary size for a galaxy. But out there in the deep, astronomers found one that makes even the Milky Way look small and tidy. It's a great glowing giant, and it stretches not 100,000 light years, but more than 16 million light years from end to end. Picture that softly, without straining. If our whole galaxy were the size of a single coin resting in your palm, this one would be wider than a room, wider than a house, spread out so far and so thin that its faint light reaches across a gulf of space almost too large to name. Astronomers found it glowing quietly in a kind of light our eyes can't even see. A soft radio glow pouring out from a black hole at its heart, streaming out in two enormous jets that reach farther than almost anything else we've ever measured. And yet, for all its impossible size, it just hangs there in the dark, calm and slow, glowing gently across a distance that would take light itself 16 million years to cross. It doesn't strain to be so big. It doesn't struggle to hold itself together. It simply is, vast and quiet and utterly at peace. There's a real comfort in numbers like that, if you let there be. They're so far beyond anything we'll ever touch or worry about that they can only be restful. No one is asking you to understand a galaxy 16 million light years wide. No one is asking you to do anything at all except lie here, soft and warm, and let these gentle giants turn slowly in your imagination, far away, needing nothing from you, carrying their impossible size as lightly as a leaf carries the morning dew. And speaking of size, let me tell you about the opposite kind of wonder, because the universe loves a bit of balance. While some galaxies grow so large they beggar belief, others stay so small, it's a wonder we call them galaxies at all. Drifting close to our own Milky Way, so close they're almost neighbors, there are little clusters of stars so tiny and so dim that they hold perhaps only a few thousand suns, or even fewer. Astronomers call them dwarf galaxies, and some of the smallest ones are so faint, so quiet, so gently spread out, that you could stare right at the patch of sky where they live and never once guess that a whole galaxy was resting there. Picture one of them now, softly. Not a great blazing wheel of light, but a small, shy gathering of stars, drifting along beside the big galaxies, like a little rowboat trailing behind a great ship. For the longest time, we couldn't find these at all. They were simply too faint, too thinly scattered, hiding in plain sight among the brighter stars of our own galaxy. It was only when we built patient instruments and looked very carefully, counting the faint stars one by one, that we began to notice these gentle little companions were there all along, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, drifting quietly around us in the dark. And here's the curious part, the part that breaks the rules just a little. These tiny galaxies, for all their few stars, seem to be held together by an enormous amount of that invisible dark matter we drifted past earlier. Pound for pound, star for star, some of them carry far more of that quiet, unseen weight than a great galaxy like ours ever does. They're mostly shadow and only a little light, and yet they hold together beautifully, turning softly through the ages, needing nothing, asking nothing, just drifting along in the deep. Isn't it a lovely thing to think of these small, quiet galaxies as the most patient of all? They don't blaze, they don't dazzle, they just hold their handful of stars close, wrapped in shadow, and drift gently onward. And you can drift right along with them now, soft and small and perfectly held, wrapped in your own gentle dark, needing nothing, asking nothing, going nowhere at all. Let your breathing carry you a little deeper as we ease toward the next strange thing. Because this one is about light and about a galaxy that seems to shine far too brightly for its own good. Out in the deep, astronomers found galaxies so brilliant, so blazingly luminous, that they pour out more light in a single moment than 1 trillion suns. 1 trillion. That's a 1 with 12 gentle zeros trailing behind it. More suns than there are stars in our whole Milky Way. All their light gathered up and shining out from a single distant point. We call these the ultra-luminous ones. And for a while, they were a real puzzle, because nothing we knew about seemed able to shine that fiercely. But picture it softly, and the answer turns out to be rather peaceful. Most of that dazzling light isn't coming from the stars we can see at all. It's coming from great clouds of warm dust, glowing quietly in a kind of light our eyes can't catch. The soft infrared glow of everything being gently heated from within. Deep inside these galaxies, hidden away behind veils of dust, whole nurseries of new stars are being born, thousands upon thousands of them, all at once, in a great slow bloom of creation. And that furious birth of stars warms the dust all around, until the whole galaxy glows like a lantern wrapped in soft cloth, blazing with a light that's mostly hidden, mostly gentle, mostly warm. So the brightest galaxies of all turn out to be the ones busy making the most new stars, quietly, patiently, behind a veil, shining out across the universe with the soft heat of countless newborn suns. There's something so tender in that image, isn't there? A galaxy glowing not with fire and violence, but with the warmth of things being born, all wrapped up soft and safe in dust, hidden away and glowing gently from within. Let that warmth settle over you now, like a soft light seen through a curtain, and let yourself grow heavier still, held in the gentle glow of all those quiet nurseries turning slowly in the deep. And now, as we drift on, let me tell you about a galaxy that seems to have come apart and yet somehow stayed together in the loveliest way. When two galaxies wander too close to one another in the deep, they don't crash the way two cars might crash, all at once and all over. Galaxies are mostly empty space, you see, vast, gentle gulfs between the stars. So when two of them meet, the stars themselves almost never touch. Instead, they pass through each other slowly, over millions upon millions of years, tugging at one another with that soft invisible pull we call gravity, drawing out long streamers of stars into great sweeping arcs and ribbons that hang in the dark like ribbons of light left behind by a slow dance. Astronomers found one pair caught right in the middle of this gentle embrace, and out of it, they'd drawn a bridge of stars stretching between them, a soft glowing thread connecting the two, hundreds of thousands of light years long. Picture it softly, two great wheels of light leaning toward each other across the dark, and between them a delicate span of stars, quietly flowing from one to the other, neither falling nor breaking, just drifting, patient and slow, across a gulf too wide to imagine. In time, over ages far longer than we can hold in our minds, these two will settle gently into one, merging softly into a single larger galaxy, their stars mingling so slowly that not one of them will feel a thing. There's no crash, no ending, only a long, tender coming together, unhurried and calm, spread across more time than has passed since the very first life stirred on our own small world. That's what's waiting for our own Milky Way too, someday, far off in the deep future. Our nearest large neighbor, a great spiral galaxy drifting quietly toward us, will one day meet our own, and the two will draw out long streamers of stars and slowly, gently, over billions of years, become one. But there's nothing to fear in it, nothing at all. It's so slow, so soft, so patient, that if anyone were around to watch, they'd see only a great and beautiful sky, slowly rearranging itself, one quiet star at a time. And by then, you and I will be long asleep, drifted off into the deep with everyone who ever wondered at the sky, resting easy while the galaxies do their slow and gentle dance without us. So let that be the thought you sink into now, soft and warm and untroubled. Even the great collisions of the universe are gentle things, slow things, patient beyond all imagining. Nothing out there is in a hurry. Nothing out there is worried. The galaxies lean toward each other and drift apart and weave their long ribbons of light across the dark. And it all happens so softly, over such vast and unhurried stretches of time, that the whole universe feels less like a place of crashing and breaking, and more like a great slow breath, drawing gently in and easing gently out, over and over, across the ages. And you can breathe right along with it now, slow and deep and easy, one small warm breath among all the turning of the stars, drifting quietly onward, toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. Let's drift on then, softly, toward another one of these strange and gentle wanderers. This next galaxy is a shape, really, more than anything else. A shape so clean, so perfect, so unlikely, that when astronomers first laid eyes on it, they weren't entirely sure they were looking at one galaxy at all. Because most galaxies, are a little messy, a little lopsided. A spiral leans one way, an arm trails out longer than the other, a smudge of dust drifts across the middle. They're beautiful, but they're beautiful the way a real thing is beautiful, with all its little imperfections showing. This one isn't like that. This one is almost too neat to be real. Picture a ring, a perfect, glowing ring of stars, hanging there in the dark, round and even all the way around, like a wedding band set down on black velvet. And in the very center of that ring, a soft round ball of golden light, a calm little core of older stars glowing warm and steady. And in between the two, between the bright center and the bright outer ring, there's a gap, a dark, empty-looking space, a moat of shadow separating the core from the ring that circles it. So what you have, floating out there in the deep, is a bright dot inside a bright circle, with a band of quiet darkness in between. It looks less like a galaxy, and more like something drawn with a compass, something a careful hand set down on purpose. Now, the rules, the ones we've written down in our books, don't really have a tidy place for a shape like this. Galaxies are supposed to be spirals with their winding arms, or great smooth ovals of old stars, or little scattered clouds. A ring, though? A clean ring around an empty middle? That's not on the usual list. And for a long while, nobody was quite sure how you'd even make such a thing. One gentle guess is that long, long ago, another galaxy came drifting straight through the middle of this one, passing through the center like a stone dropped into a still pond, and sent a great ripple of stars rolling outward, spreading into that perfect ring. And then the visitor wandered off again into the dark, leaving behind only this quiet, ringing echo of the moment they met. A ripple frozen in starlight, turning slowly, holding its shape across millions upon millions of years. Isn't that a soft thing to picture? A whole galaxy shaped like the ring a raindrop makes when it touches water, only slowed down so far, stretched out so long, that the ripple will still be spreading gently outward, long after every one of us has drifted off to sleep. There's no violence left in it now. Whatever happened, happened so long ago that all that remains is the shape, calm and round and complete, turning quietly in the deep with nothing left to prove. Just a perfect ring of light, keeping its own quiet company out there in the dark, asking nothing of anyone. And here's a lovely little thought to rest with. When astronomers looked very carefully at that dark gap between the ring and the core, the mote of shadow that seemed so empty, they found that it wasn't quite empty after all. Off in the distance, framed neatly in that dark band, there was another galaxy, much further away, peeking through the gap, one faint smudge of light, sitting in the shadow of the ring like a little jewel set into a band. Two galaxies, unimaginably far apart, one framing the other by pure chance, from exactly where we happen to be standing. It only looks that way from here, from our own small world, at this one moment in all of time. Move a little to one side, and the picture would come apart. But from here, tonight, it lines up just so. A ring with a hidden light nestled inside it. The universe doesn't arrange these things for us. It just turns and drifts. And now and then, from where we sit, the pieces fall into a shape that takes the breath away. Let that settle over you now, slow and warm. A perfect ring of stars, and a distant light caught softly in its shadow, and all of it so far away, so calm, so utterly unbothered by whether anyone is watching or not. It simply is, and it has been for ages, and it will go on being long after tonight has faded into all the other nights. Nothing there to hold on to, nothing there to solve, just a quiet, beautiful shape drifting on. Now let's ease along to another one, gentler still. This next galaxy breaks a rule so strange that for a long time we didn't even think to write it down, because it never occurred to anyone that it could be broken. Here's the rule, plain and simple. A galaxy is made of stars. That's what a galaxy is, isn't it? A great gathering of suns, held together, glowing in the dark. Take away the stars, and surely there's nothing left to call a galaxy at all. And yet, drifting out there in the deep, astronomers began to find something very odd indeed. Great clouds of gas, turning slowly, held together, moving exactly the way a galaxy moves, wheeling around some hidden center, held in place by something unseen. All the shape and heft and gentle spin of a galaxy, but almost no stars, barely any light at all. We've come to call these the dark galaxies, and they're just about the shyest things in all the cosmos. They don't blaze, they hardly even glow. They're mostly that quiet, invisible dark matter we talked about a little while ago. The gentle, unseen stuff that holds so much of the universe together from the shadows, wrapped around a great cloud of cool, dim gas that never quite got around to lighting up into stars. Think of it, a galaxy that forgot to shine. A vast turning cloud, all the weight and swirl of a proper galaxy, and yet dark, patient, waiting in the deep, holding itself together without ever putting on a show. For every galaxy out there flooding the sky with light, there may be others like this, hushed and dim, that we very nearly walk right past without ever knowing they're there. How do you even find such a thing? A galaxy that gives off almost no light. Very gently and very patiently, astronomers listen, in a way, for the faint whisper of that cool gas, a soft signal drifting across the dark, far too dim for any eye to see. And from that quiet whisper, they can trace the shape of something turning where there seems to be nothing at all. It's a little like feeling the shape of a smooth stone in a dark room, running your hands over it slowly until you understand its curves without ever once seeing it. And what they feel out there in the deep is a great slow wheel of gas, spinning around and around, held together by more of that invisible something than stars could ever account for. A galaxy in every way that matters, except the one we always took for granted. It has no shine. There's something wonderfully peaceful in that, I think. That a thing can be whole and real and turning quietly along its way, without ever needing to light up, without ever needing to be seen. It just drifts there in the dark, complete in itself, holding its cool gas close, keeping its slow and gentle spin, and never once minding that no one's looking. It doesn't need our eyes on it to go on being what it is. And maybe that's a soft thing to carry with you as you sink a little deeper now. You don't have to shine to be whole either. You can be quiet and dim and drifting easy in the dark and still be turning gently along, held together, exactly as you're meant to be. Let's wander toward just one more before we let ourselves drift on. This last one for now is about motion and about which way things are supposed to go. You see, the whole universe, taken all together, is spreading out. Ever so slowly, the great galaxies are drifting apart from one another, the space between them stretching wider and wider, like dots painted on a balloon that's very gently being blown up. Nearly everything out there, when we look at it, is easing away from us, drifting off into the deep, carried along on that slow universal spreading. That's the rule, the great gentle rule that the whole cosmos seems to follow. Outward, apart, wider and wider, softly, across ages beyond counting. And yet, here and there, tucked in close among their neighbors, there are galaxies that aren't drifting away at all. There are galaxies coming toward us, not many, and not the far-off ones, but a few of the nearer ones, the ones held close enough that a gentler, more local pull wins out over that great slow spreading. Their own quiet gravity, and the gravity of everything gathered near them, tugs them together faster than the universe can carry them apart. And so, against the grain of everything, against the great outward drift of the whole cosmos, They lean toward each other and come softly closer. Our own great neighbor, the big spiral we spoke of before, is one of these. While nearly all the universe drifts away, that one comes gently on toward us, in no hurry at all, easing closer across the dark over billions of quiet years. It's a lovely thing when you sit with it. The universe has its great rule, spreading ever outward. And yet love, if we can call gravity's slow pull a kind of love, wins out in the small, close places. Where things are near enough to hold one another, they do. They gather and they lean in and they draw together, even as everything else drifts apart. So the sky isn't only a story of things scattering and letting go. In the near and gentle corners, it's a story of coming together, of drawing close, of the quiet pull that keeps neighbors near. Both are true at once, the great spreading and the small gathering, and neither is in any rush, and neither has anything to fear. So let all of that drift over you now, soft and slow and warm, the perfect ring of stars with its hidden light, the shy, dark galaxy turning quietly without a shine, the neighbors leaning gently toward each other against the great outward drift of everything. Not one of them is troubled, not one of them is hurrying. They simply turn and drift and lean and hold together, each in its own quiet way, across stretches of time so vast they turn the mind soft just to think of them. And you're drifting right along with them now, easy and unhurried, one small warm thought among all the turning of the stars, sinking gently deeper, carried softly onward toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. Let's drift on then, easy and slow, to the next of them. This one has a shape that'll make you smile if you picture it just right, soft and unhurried in the dark. Out there, in a great crowded gathering of galaxies, all of them huddled close together in one busy corner of the cosmos. There are some that seem to trail long glowing streamers behind them, like something swimming slowly through deep water. Astronomers, being the sort of people who like to give things names, looked at these and thought of a jellyfish, drifting along with its soft tendrils hanging down beneath it. And so that's what we call them. Jellyfish galaxies. Isn't that a lovely, sleepy word for a thing so vast? Here's what's happening, and it's gentler than it sounds. When one of these galaxies drifts through a great crowded cluster, it isn't moving through empty space. That space between the galaxies is filled ever so thinly with a warm haze of gas, spread out and quiet, thinner than the thinnest mist you could ever imagine. And as the galaxy eases its way through, that thin haze pushes against it, softly, patiently, the way a light breeze might tug at the smoke rising off a candle. And little by little, over stretches of time too long to hold in your mind, that gentle pressure coaxes streamers of gas out of the galaxy and draws them out behind it, trailing away into the dark. And in those trailing streamers, something tender happens. New stars begin to bloom. All along those long, soft ribbons of drawn-out gas, tiny points of fresh light flicker on, one after another, like lamps being lit down a long, quiet street at dusk. So the galaxy goes drifting on through the crowd, leaving a wake of newborn stars glowing softly behind it, a trail of little lights marking the slow, gentle path it's taken. There's no crash to any of it, no sudden thing, just a slow drift and a soft pull, and a scattering of new stars left glowing in the wake. Let that picture settle over you now, warm and easy, a great glowing jellyfish of a galaxy easing through the deep, trailing its soft ribbons of newborn light behind it, in no hurry at all. And now let's wander toward another, stranger still, and gentler still. This next one breaks a rule about time itself, about how fast a galaxy is supposed to grow up and settle down. You see, we always thought galaxies took their time. They gather their gas, they form their stars slowly, batch after batch, over billions upon billions of years, the way a forest grows one ring at a time. That's the calm and orderly story we told ourselves. A galaxy is patient. A galaxy is in no rush. It builds itself up slowly and keeps on making new stars for a very, very long time. And then, far off in the deep, we found one that had somehow finished. Done. Already grown up and gone quiet. Its work all behind it, when the whole universe was still terribly young. This galaxy had made all its stars in one great burst, long ago, and then simply stopped. It went still. It settled into a soft old glow, all its bright young star-making finished, when by all our reckoning, it should still have been busy building itself for ages and ages yet to come. We call these the quenched galaxies, the ones that stopped early. And there's something so peaceful about the idea, isn't there? A galaxy that did all its living early, all its blooming and its burning, and then simply eased into a long, quiet rest. No more new stars, no more busy work. Just the soft, steady, golden light of the stars it already had, drifting on down through the ages, calm and complete. We're still not entirely sure how a galaxy manages this, how it puts itself so gently to sleep so early. Maybe the great black hole at its heart woke up and warmed the gas so much that no new stars could form from it. Maybe it simply used up everything it had in one long, beautiful season of star-making and had nothing left to burn. Nobody knows for certain, and honestly, that's all right. The galaxy doesn't mind that we don't know. It just goes on glowing, softly, an old and quiet thing that finished its work long ago and has been resting peacefully ever since. There's a kind of comfort in that when you sit with it. The idea that a thing can do all it needs to do and then simply rest, whole and finished and content, glowing gently on with nothing left to prove and nothing left to chase. Let your breathing slow a little more as we drift toward the next one, because this one is about hearts, about how many a galaxy is supposed to have. You'd think the answer was simple. 1. A galaxy has one great heart at its center, one enormous sleeping giant of a black hole around which everything turns. And most of the time, that's exactly right. But every now and then, when two galaxies have wandered close and begun their slow, patient embrace, the kind we spoke of earlier, the long dance that takes hundreds of millions of years, you get a galaxy in the middle of becoming one, still carrying two hearts inside it. Two great black holes, one from each galaxy, drifting slowly toward each other, through the merged and mingled stars, circling closer over ages, beyond counting, easing in toward the moment when they'll finally become one. Picture that, softly, without straining after it. Somewhere out in the deep, right now, there's a galaxy with two hearts beating slowly at its center. Two great dark giants turning around one another in the shared glow of all those stars, spiraling closer so gently, so patiently, that from where we sit, it looks like nothing is happening at all. And one far-off day, unimaginably far from now, those two hearts will drift together and merge into a single greater one. And when they do, they'll send a soft ripple out through the very fabric of space itself. A slow wave passing outward through everything, so gentle you'd never feel it, spreading away across the cosmos like the ring a stone makes when it slips into a still pond. We've actually learned to listen for those ripples now in our own quiet way, with instruments so sensitive they can feel a tremor smaller than the width of an atom. And when two of these great hearts finally join, somewhere far out in the dark, we can hear the faintest whisper of it reach us, a soft, low note humming through the whole of space. Two hearts becoming one, out in the deep, and a quiet song spreading gently outward from the joining. Let that drift over you, warm and slow, nothing to hold on to, just two great sleeping giants easing together across the ages, and the soft ripple that carries the news of it out into the endless dark. And now, let's ease toward one more before we let ourselves sink deeper still. This one breaks a rule about brightness again, but in a way all its own. Out there in the deep, there are galaxies we've come to call the starburst galaxies, and the name tells you almost everything. These are galaxies caught up in a great, glowing frenzy of star-making, forming new stars not one or two at a time, the slow and gentle way our own galaxy does it, but hundreds of them, thousands of them, blooming into being all at once, filling the whole galaxy with the soft light of brand new suns. If our own Milky Way makes a handful of new stars in a year, quietly, in no rush at all, one of these starburst galaxies might make hundreds in that same span, a whole crowd of newborn lights flickering on together across the dark. And here's the gentle part. These bursts don't last. A galaxy can't keep that up forever, all that furious blooming. It burns through its gas, its store of star stuff, far too fast, like a fire that flares up bright and warm when you throw fresh wood on it, and then eases back down to a soft and steady glow. So a starburst galaxy is a fleeting thing, a passing season, a brief and beautiful flowering that shines out across the cosmos for a little while, and then quietly settles back down. Often it happens when two galaxies have drawn close and stirred each other up, their mingling gas pressed and gathered until it can't help but bloom into new stars all at once. A great slow embrace, and out of it, a whole galaxy suddenly alight with newborn suns. Isn't that a soft thing to picture as you drift? A galaxy caught in one brief, glowing spring, every corner of it flowering into light, and knowing, in its own timeless way, that the burst will fade and the calm will return, and that both are fine, and neither is anything to fear. You see how it goes, all of it. The jellyfish drifting through the crowd, trailing its soft ribbons of newborn stars. The old quenched galaxy that did all its living early and settled into a long, peaceful rest. The galaxy carrying two slow hearts toward each other across the ages. The starburst caught in its one brief, glowing spring. Not one of them is troubled by what it's doing. Not one of them is hurrying or worrying or wishing it were something else. They simply do the thing they're doing, each in its own slow and patient way, across stretches of time so vast they turn the mind soft just to brush against them. And the more of them we meet, the clearer it becomes. The universe was never as tidy as we thought. It was never a place of neat rules kept perfectly, everything doing exactly what it's told. It's stranger than that, and softer than that, and far more full of quiet surprises. And every one of those surprises, every galaxy that does the thing it isn't supposed to be able to do, is just the cosmos being a little more gentle and a little more wonderful than our small, neat books could ever hold. So let all of that drift over you now, easy and warm. The great glowing jellyfish easing through the deep. The old galaxy resting, complete and content, its work all behind it. The two slow hearts spiraling gently together, and the soft ripple spreading out from their joining. The whole galaxy caught in one brief and beautiful spring of newborn light. Each of them turning and drifting and glowing quietly along its way, needing nothing from us, asking nothing of us, perfectly at peace out there in the endless dark. And you're drifting right along with them, soft and slow and unhurried. One small warm thought among all the turning of the stars, sinking gently deeper with every easy breath, carried softly onward through the quiet, toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. Toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. And this one has a shape you have to turn over slowly in your mind before it quite makes sense. So let's take it gently. No rush at all. Picture an ordinary galaxy first. A soft, flat wheel of stars, turning the way a coin spins on a table. Everything going round together in the same broad plane. That's the usual way of it. But this next galaxy has something extra, something almost impossible to imagine at first. Wrapped around it, over the top and under the bottom, running the wrong way entirely, there's a second ring, a great glowing band of stars and gas that circles the galaxy over its poles, up and over the top and down beneath the bottom, crossing right over the flat wheel at a perfect right angle. Two rings of light held together, turning in two directions at once, like a ball wearing a hoop tilted the wrong way round. We call these the polar ring galaxies, and they really are one of the loveliest strange things out there in the deep. How does a galaxy end up wearing a second ring like that, standing tall and sideways to everything else? The gentlest guess is the one that keeps coming up on these journeys of ours. Long, long ago, this galaxy drifted close to another, and slowly, ever so slowly, drew in a great long river of that other galaxy's stars and gas. But the river came in at a strange angle, high over the poles instead of round the equator. And instead of settling down flat the way you'd expect, it simply stayed up there, circling on and on, wrapped around the galaxy like a ribbon tied round a gift. And it's been turning that way for billions of years, patient and unbothered, two motions held in one quiet body, neither one troubling the other in the least. Isn't that a soft thing to rest with? A galaxy that found a way to spin two ways at once and simply carried on, calm and whole, doing the thing that all our tidy diagrams said it shouldn't be able to do. Let that image drift over you, easy and slow. The great flat wheel and the tall standing ring, both of them glowing gently, turning together through the dark. There's nothing in it that needs your worry. It's just another of the cosmos's quiet little surprises, hanging there in the deep, keeping its own strange and beautiful shape for no one's sake at all. And now let's ease on toward another, because this next one breaks a rule you might never have thought of as a rule. It has to do with company, with the simple idea that galaxies like to have neighbors. Nearly all of them do, you know? Out in the universe, galaxies tend to gather. They drift together into little groups and great crowded clusters, dozens or hundreds or thousands of them, held loosely near one another by that gentle invisible pull, the way houses gather into villages and villages into towns. Very few galaxies are ever truly alone. But between all those gatherings, the universe has its empty places too. Great vast bubbles of nearly nothing, stretches of dark so wide and so hollow that you could travel through them for hundreds of millions of light years and pass almost nothing at all. We call these the cosmic voids, and they're the emptiest places in all of creation. And here and there, right in the very middle of one of those enormous empty bubbles, drifting all on its own with no neighbor for further than the mind can hold, there floats a single quiet galaxy. A void galaxy, we call it, the most solitary thing there is. Just imagine it for a moment, softly, without any sadness in it. One small wheel of stars, turning gently in the middle of an ocean of dark so wide that if its nearest neighbor sent out a beam of light, it would take that light longer to arrive than the Earth has even existed. And yet the void galaxy isn't lonely, not in any way that troubles it. It simply turns and glows and makes its stars and carries on, perfectly content in all that quiet emptiness, needing nothing and no one, complete just as it is. There's something so peaceful in that, isn't there? The idea that a thing can be utterly alone and utterly at ease all at once. That being on your own out in the great wide dark doesn't have to mean anything is missing. The void galaxy has all the room in the universe, and it fills exactly as much of it as it pleases, and it asks for nothing more. So let that settle over you now, slow and warm, the picture of that one gentle galaxy alone in the middle of all that space, turning quietly, glowing softly, at perfect peace in the biggest emptiness there is. You're drifting right along beside it in your own way, wrapped up snug and safe, going nowhere at all. And that's exactly as it should be. Now here's another that breaks a rule so quietly you'd almost miss it, and it's a gentle one to sink into. We've talked before about how galaxies are made of stars, great uncountable crowds of suns, all shining away together. And that's the very heart of what a galaxy is. But out in the deep, astronomers have found things that seem, by every measure that matters, to be galaxies, and yet have almost no stars in them at all. They're made instead of gas. Just gas. Great slow-turning clouds of hydrogen, spinning gently the way a proper galaxy spins, held together and shaped and wheeling round, but never quite catching light, never quite gathering themselves up into stars the way galaxies are supposed to do. For the longest time we couldn't see them, of course, because there was almost nothing there to see. It was only when astronomers learned to listen for the faint whisper that hydrogen gives off, a soft signal drifting in from the dark, that they realized these great turning clouds were out there at all, quietly spinning in place, going through all the slow motions of being a galaxy without ever lighting the lamps. How does a thing like that come to be? Maybe it simply never gathered enough of itself together to spark those first stars into life. Maybe it's a galaxy waiting, a galaxy that hasn't gotten around to shining yet, holding all its potential inside it, patient beyond all patience, in no hurry whatsoever to become the thing it might one day be. And maybe it never will, and maybe that's fine too. Just a great gentle cloud, turning in the dark, unlit and unhurried, needing no one to see it in order to go right on being exactly what it is. Isn't that a lovely thought to rest with as you sink a little deeper, that you don't have to shine to be real, that a thing can be whole and turning and quietly itself, even in the dark, even unseen, even before it's become whatever it's slowly becoming. There's no rush in any of it. The gas cloud turns, the ages pass, and the universe simply lets it be. Let's drift on, soft and slow, to just one more for now. And this one has a bit of gentle motion to it that's rather wonderful to picture. You'd think, wouldn't you, that a galaxy's great heart, that enormous dark heavy thing turning at its very center, would stay put, would sit right there in the middle, exactly where it belongs, anchored down and going nowhere for all the long life of the galaxy around it. And nearly always, that's just what happens. But every so often, out in the deep, astronomers catch sight of something that shouldn't be possible. A great dark heart on the move, slipping quietly away from the center of its galaxy, drifting off to one side, wandering slowly out through the crowd of stars, as if it had somewhere else it meant to be. A runaway heart, easing gently away from home. And behind it, in some of these, there trails a long, soft ribbon of newborn stars, kindled to life in the wake of its passing. A glowing trail marking the slow path it's taken. How on earth does something so heavy come loose and start to wander? The gentlest idea is that two galaxies once merged long ago, each carrying a great heart of its own. And as those two hearts spiraled together and finally joined, all that motion gave the newborn heart a soft and lasting push, a nudge just strong enough to set it slowly drifting. And so now it travels, unhurried, through the galaxy that holds it, in no rush at all, leaving its gentle trail of light behind. Picture that, if you can, softly, as you settle deeper, a great slow heart wandering quietly through a sea of stars, trailing a ribbon of new light, going wherever the ages carry it, untroubled, unbothered, simply drifting on the way you're drifting now. You see how it keeps on going, all of it. The galaxy wearing its tall standing ring, spinning two ways at once and minding neither. The lone void galaxy, content in the biggest emptiness there is. The great turning cloud of gas that never bothered to light its lamps, whole and real in the dark. The wandering heart, easing gently away from home, trailing soft new stars behind it. Not one of them is troubled by the rules it's breaking. Not one of them is hurrying or worrying or wishing it were something tidier and more ordinary. They simply turn and drift and glow, each in its own slow and patient way, across stretches of time so vast and so gentle that just brushing against them softens the whole mind. And the deeper we wander into all of this, the clearer that one soft truth becomes. The universe was never the neat and orderly place we once imagined. Everything in its proper spot, everything doing just what it's told. It's stranger than that, and kinder than that, and far more full of quiet little wonders than any of our careful books could ever hold. And every one of those wonders, every galaxy that does the thing it isn't supposed to be able to do, is just the cosmos being a little more gentle and a little more surprising than we ever thought to ask for. So let all of it drift over you now, warm and easy and slow. The tall, bright ring standing sideways in the dark. The one small galaxy alone in its great wide emptiness, perfectly at peace. The unlit cloud turning patiently, waiting on nothing, needing nothing. The wandering heart trailing its gentle ribbon of new light. Each of them out there right now, turning and drifting and glowing quietly along its own slow way, asking nothing of you, needing nothing from you, perfectly content in the endless dark. And you're drifting right along with them, softer and slower and heavier with every easy breath. One small warm thought among all the turning of the stars, sinking gently deeper into the quiet, carried on and on toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. So let's ease on, gently, to the next of these strange and lovely things, because there's one out there that breaks a rule about color, of all the simple ordinary things, and it does it so quietly you'd almost never think to ask about it. You see, most galaxies wear a soft mix of colors when you really look at them. A little gold here from the old stars, a little blue there from the young ones, all blended together the way the colors blend in a fire that's been burning a good long while. And that mixing is just what you'd expect, because a galaxy is usually a great crowd of stars of every age, all living side by side. The old ones, and the middle-aged ones, and the brand new ones, each one adding its own quiet shade to the whole. But there's a kind of galaxy out there that's gone almost entirely one color, a deep and even red, warm as embers, as though every star inside it were the very same age, all grown old together, all cooling down together at the very same slow and patient pace. No new stars kindling anywhere, no fresh blue light breaking through. Just that one soft, even glow, steady all the way across, like a whole city of little fires banked down low for the night. And when astronomers first came upon one of these, they wondered how a whole galaxy could hold so still in its living, how it could stop making anything new so completely that not a single young star was left to break up all that red. It's as if the whole place had made up its mind, long ago, to simply be what it already was, and to keep on being that, quietly, without ever reaching for anything more. Isn't that a soft thing to picture as you settle in? A galaxy all one warm color, glowing evenly in the dark, perfectly finished, perfectly at peace with being exactly what it is. And then, drifting a little further, there's a galaxy that breaks a rule about how much of itself we're even allowed to see, because most galaxies keep a good deal hidden. They wrap themselves in dust, thick clouds of it, dark lanes winding through their bright arms, and that dust drinks up the light of the stars behind it and holds it close, so that when we look, we only ever catch a part of what's really there. It's a bit like looking at a lit window through a curtain, seeing the warm glow, but never quite the room. And that's the ordinary way of things. That's how nearly every galaxy carries itself, half in light and half in shadow. But there's one out there so clean, so nearly free of dust, that when you look at it, you can see straight through, all the way down, every star laid out plain and clear from the near edge to the far one, nothing hidden, nothing veiled. Astronomers puzzled over it, because dust is supposed to gather as a galaxy lives its life, sifting out of dying stars, drifting into the spaces between, building up over the long ages the way dust builds up in a quiet room. So a galaxy with almost none of it is a galaxy that somehow never gathered that softness, or lost it, or burned it clean away. And either way, it left behind something rare and open and utterly clear. Just picture that, gently, without straining after it. A galaxy you can see right into, every star showing, nothing kept back, glowing openly in the deep dark as though it had nothing at all to hide. Let that clearness settle over you, easy and slow, the way still water settles when nothing's stirring it. Now here's a lovely one, and it breaks a rule about how a galaxy is supposed to feed itself. You'd think, wouldn't you, that once a galaxy has used up its gas, once it's spun all that raw material into stars and burned through the rest, that would be the end of its making. No more gas, no more new stars, and the whole thing settles slowly into old age, the way a fire settles once the last of the wood is gone. And for a great many galaxies, that's just how it goes. They live on what they were born with, spend it down over the ages, and quietly ease into rest when it's spent. But some galaxies have found a gentler way, a slower and cleverer way, and it's this. They breathe. Not the way you and I breathe, of course, but in their own vast, unhurried fashion, over stretches of time so long they'd stop your mind to think of them. They push great soft clouds of gas up and out, driven by the winds of all their burning stars, up into the quiet halo that wraps around them. And then, ever so slowly, the gas cools and grows heavy and comes drifting back down again, sinking gently home to make new stars all over, out and then back. A slow breath drawn over hundreds of millions of years, gas rising and falling, so that the galaxy never quite runs dry, never quite finishes, but keeps on making a little more light, a little more warmth, feeding itself from its own soft exhalations. Isn't that a wonderful thing to rest with? A galaxy that breathes in and out so slowly that a single breath outlasts everything we've ever known, quietly recycling its own light, never in any hurry to be done. Let your own breathing fall in beside it now, soft and even, in and out, in and out, unhurried as the turning of the stars. And drifting on from there, there's a galaxy that breaks a rule about weight, but from the opposite side of the one we visited before. You remember the galaxies that seemed too heavy, too grand for how young they were. Well, this one is the other way round. This one is a galaxy that's almost all made of the invisible stuff, the dark and gentle something we spoke of long ago, the thing that makes no light and asks for no attention, and simply holds the rest together from the shadows. In most galaxies, that dark stuff is there, wrapped all around. But there's a good measure of ordinary matter too, the gas and dust and stars we can actually see. A fair share of each. But there are galaxies out there that are almost nothing but the dark stuff, wrapped around the barest scattering of stars, so that if you could weigh the whole thing and then weigh just the part that shines, you'd find the shining part is hardly there at all, a mere whisper of light held inside a great deep well of the invisible. Astronomers call these the ones that are made mostly of shadow, and they float through the cosmos so quietly, so dimly, that finding even one of them takes the greatest patience. A tiny handful of stars, adrift in a vast unseen cradle, held together by something we still can't quite name. And there's a real tenderness in that, when you think of it slowly, that the light is the smallest part, that most of what holds a galaxy together is the part you never see, the quiet part, the part that does its gentle work in the dark and never once asks to be noticed. Let that thought settle over you now, warm and easy, as you sink a little deeper into wherever you're resting. Now this next one breaks a rule about age, but not the way the quenched ones did, the ones that stopped early and eased into rest. No, this one is stranger and softer still. This is a galaxy that seems, in a manner of speaking, to have been passed over by time. A relic, astronomers call it, a fossil galaxy, though there's nothing cold or dead about it. It's a galaxy that formed very fast, very long ago, in the early ages of the universe, made all its stars in a great early rush, and then simply stopped and stayed exactly as it was, unchanged, untouched, drifting on through all the billions of years since, without ever growing, without ever merging, without ever gathering another galaxy into itself the way nearly all the others have. Because most galaxies, you see, are built up slowly over the long ages, one small piece at a time, swallowing their little neighbors, drawing in fresh gas, growing and changing and reshaping themselves across the whole span of cosmic time. That's the ordinary way a galaxy comes to be what it is, a slow gathering, a long assembling. But this relic never did any of that. It made itself early, all at once, and then it kept perfectly still, so that when we look at it now, we're seeing something almost impossibly old, a galaxy preserved just as it was in the deep past, a little window into how things looked when the universe was young. It's a bit like coming across a room that no one has touched in 100 years, everything sitting exactly where it was left. The dust settled soft over all of it, the whole place holding its breath in the quiet. Just picture that gently. A galaxy that time forgot to rework, sitting untouched in the deep, keeping the shape it was born with, patient and whole and utterly still. Let that stillness pour into you now, slow and warm, and let yourself grow heavier with it. And here's one more before we drift on, and it breaks a rule about shape, but so softly that you'd need to look twice to catch it. Most galaxies, when they've settled, are fairly balanced things. A spiral has its arms winding out evenly on every side. An oval galaxy is smooth and even all the way round. There's a kind of quiet symmetry to them, a sense that they've found their center and settled comfortably around it. But there are galaxies out there that are lopsided, off balance, leaning gently to one side as though they'd been caught mid-turn and never quite straightened up. More stars gathered on one edge than the other, the bright heart sitting a little off from where you'd expect it, nudged away from the middle. And for a long time that puzzled us, because a galaxy is supposed to smooth itself out over the ages, to find its balance and keep it. But it turns out some of them are forever being gently tugged off center, drawn a little sideways by a neighbor drifting close by, or by the soft pull of the great dark stuff all around them, so that they lean and never quite come back to true. And there's something rather endearing in that, isn't there? A galaxy that never got perfectly straight, that carries a little tilt to it, a little lean, glowing along all crooked and content in the dark. Not everything has to be balanced. Not everything has to be even. Some things are lovely precisely because they're a little off kilter, a little tilted, easing along their own slightly crooked way, without a care in the world. Let that settle over you now, soft and untroubling, as you lean gently into your own resting place, letting your body go loose and easy, letting every last bit of holding on simply melt away into the quiet, drifting on toward the next of the galaxies that break the rules. So let's drift a little further now, gentle and unhurried, to a galaxy that breaks a rule about coldness, about just how chilly a place is allowed to be. You'd think, wouldn't you, that space is already about as cold as anything could ever get. And most of it is. Out there between the stars, far from any warmth, The temperature sinks down so low it's almost too small a number to say aloud, just a whisper above the very bottom. The coldest anything in the whole universe is supposed to be able to reach. That's the floor, we thought. Nothing colder than that empty background chill that fills the space between all things. But then astronomers found a little cloud of gas, a soft puff of stuff drifting inside a distant galaxy. And when they measured it, they found it was colder still. Colder than the emptiness around it. Colder than the background hum of the whole cosmos. And that puzzled us for a while, because how does something get colder than the coldest place there is? Well, it turns out this little cloud had been quietly expanding, spreading itself out ever so gently over the long ages. And as it spread, it cooled, the way a breath cools when you let it out slow and easy. So there it sits, a small pocket of the deepest cold in all creation, resting quiet in the dark, colder than the night it floats in. Isn't that a soft thing to picture? The coldest little corner of everything, not troubled by it at all, just drifting along, still and peaceful, cooler than the quiet it rests in. Let that gentle cold settle over you now, not a shivering kind, but the soft cool of a pillow when you first turn it over, easing you deeper down. And here's another one waiting just beyond, and it breaks a rule about company, about how galaxies are supposed to keep their little ones scattered all around them. You see, a big galaxy like ours has a whole crowd of small companion galaxies, tiny things that drift along in its glow, keeping it company through the ages. And we always thought those little ones would be sprinkled about every which way, tucked here and there in no particular order, the way crumbs scatter when you break a piece of bread. That's what all our thinking told us to expect, a loose and random scattering, no pattern to it at all. But when astronomers looked carefully at the little galaxies drifting around some of the great ones, they found something that stopped them in their tracks. The small ones weren't scattered at all. They were lined up, arranged in a great thin sheet, a flat, wide plane wheeling around the big galaxy all together, like leaves that have all settled onto the same still surface of a pond. And that shouldn't happen. Little galaxies aren't supposed to agree with one another about which way to go. Yet there they are, turning in graceful order, all in step, all in the same broad ring, moving together through the deep like a slow and silent dance no one taught them. We're still not quite sure how they came to line up so neatly. But there's something lovely in it, isn't there? The idea that even the scattered little things, given enough time and enough quiet, can fall into a gentle order all their own. Let that thought drift over you soft and warm. The little galaxies wheeling round in their patient circle, everything in its place, nothing out of step. Now let's ease onward, slower still, to a galaxy that breaks a rule about what it's made of, about the very stuff a galaxy is allowed to hold. Most galaxies, you see, are a rich mixture of all sorts of things. There are stars young and old. There's gas of every kind. And woven all through it are the heavier bits and pieces, the metals and minerals that get forged deep inside stars, and then scattered out when those stars come gently to their ends. Over the long ages, a galaxy builds up more and more of this rich material, seasoning itself, growing fuller and more complex, the way a pot of soup grows richer the longer it simmers. That's the ordinary way of things. But far, far out in the deep, astronomers found a galaxy that had almost none of that richness at all. It was made of the plainest, simplest stuff there is. the pure and unseasoned gas that filled the whole universe near the very beginning, before any star had lived and died to enrich it. A galaxy of the old, plain ingredients, untouched by all the seasoning that time usually brings. And to find such a thing is to find a piece of the earliest morning, a scrap of the universe left just as it was before things grew complicated. It's a bit like tasting bread made from nothing but flour and water, the way it might have been made at the very start, before anyone thought to add anything more. Simple and old, and quietly complete. Let that plainness rest over you now, soft and undemanding. A galaxy content with the least it could be made of, asking for nothing more, glowing gently along on the simplest stuff in all the world. And drifting on from there, we come to a galaxy that breaks a rule about staying home, about the idea that a galaxy ought to keep to its own quiet corner of space. Most galaxies do just that. They drift along with their neighbors, held loosely together in great gentle groups, none of them going anywhere in much of a hurry, all of them content to wheel slowly around one another through the long ages. But every now and then, the cosmos gives one a little push. When a small galaxy wanders too close to a much larger one, it can be flung out, cast gently loose, sent drifting off alone into the wide, empty dark between the great crowds of galaxies. And so there are these lonely wanderers out there, small galaxies traveling on their own through the vast quiet, having been nudged out of the crowd long ago and set adrift. You might think that would be a sad thing, a galaxy all by itself in the deep. But it isn't, not really. It simply glows on, calm and whole, carrying all its own stars with it, needing no one and nothing, drifting through the great open dark at its own slow and easy pace. There's a peacefulness to it, honestly. The thought of a thing so complete in itself that it can travel alone through all that emptiness and never feel the lack of anything. Let that settle softly over you now. The lone galaxy wandering easy through the dark, whole and content, and in no hurry to be anywhere at all. Let's drift a little deeper still, to a galaxy that breaks a rule about brightness at its very heart. We talked a while back about the great dark giants that sit at the centers of galaxies, those enormous heavy things around which everything else turns. Nearly every big galaxy has one, we thought, tucked away in the middle, holding the whole spinning wheel together from the center. It seemed a settled thing, a rule you could count on. Every grand galaxy, a great dark heart at its core. But then astronomers looked closely at one particular galaxy, a big one, the kind that ought to have an enormous one right in the middle. And they searched, and they measured, and they searched again, and they simply couldn't find it. Where the great heavy heart was supposed to be, there was only more stars, more soft glowing light, and nothing at the center pulling hard the way it should. Maybe it never grew one. Maybe, long ago, it had one and lost it, knocked gently loose in some slow ancient meeting with another galaxy, and sent drifting off into the dark. We're not entirely sure. But isn't that a curious, gentle thought? A great galaxy going about its business with no heavy heart at its center at all. Just a soft and even glow all the way through, light and unburdened, turning quietly along without that great weight anchoring it down. Let that lightness ease into you now. The galaxy with no heavy center, floating free and untethered in the deep. And let yourself grow just as light, just as unburdened, sinking softly into the quiet. And now, drifting on, we find a galaxy that breaks a rule about shape in a way that might make you smile, because it's grown itself a great long bar right through the middle. You know how most spiral galaxies have a round, soft glow at the center, with their arms winding out gently from it? Well, some of them, instead of a simple round center, have a great straight bar of stars running clean across the middle, and the spiral arms trail out from the two ends of that bar rather than from a round core. For the longest time, we wondered how a galaxy comes to build itself such a thing. A great, stretched out beam of stars, all lined up straight across its heart. And it turns out these bars form slowly over enormous spans of time, as the stars in the middle fall into a gentle rhythm together, all swinging along the same long path, gathering themselves into that straight glowing line. It's a slow sort of order, a pattern that takes ages upon ages to settle into place. And once it's there, that bar becomes a kind of quiet river, channeling gas gently inward toward the center, feeding new stars into being right at the heart of things. Isn't that a soft thing to sit with? A great straight beam of light lying across the middle of a spinning wheel of stars, formed so patiently, doing its slow, quiet work of drawing things gently inward. Let that image drift over you now, calm and unhurried, the long glowing bar turning through the dark, everything moving together in its slow and settled rhythm. And here's one more before we drift on toward the last of them. And it breaks a rule about how long a galaxy's light is supposed to take to change. You'd think a galaxy, being so unimaginably vast, would only ever change with painful slowness, its brightness shifting so gradually that no one alive could ever notice. And mostly that's true. A galaxy is a patient thing, changing over millions upon millions of years, far too slow for any of us to watch. But there are a few, tucked in the deep, whose light flickers and brightens and dims over spans of time short enough that we actually can watch. The glow at their centers swelling and fading as the great dark heart within them feeds, and then rests, feeds, and then rests, like the slow rise and fall of a sleeper's breathing. And when astronomers first saw one of these change, brightening softly over the years and then easing back down, it caught them quite by surprise, because a thing so enormous isn't supposed to shift so quickly. Yet there it was, glowing a little brighter, then a little softer, breathing its slow, bright breath out into the dark. There's something so restful in that, isn't there? The idea of a galaxy that breathes, its light rising and falling, gentle and steady, keeping its own slow, calm rhythm across the ages. Let that rhythm carry you now, the soft swell and fade of that distant glow, in and out, slow and easy, as you settle deeper still into the warm and quiet dark, drifting on toward the very last of the galaxies that break the rules. And now let's drift on toward the very last of them, gently, the way you'd wander toward the end of a long, slow evening walk, with no hurry in your steps and nowhere in particular you need to be. This next galaxy breaks a rule about color, though not in the way you might expect. You'd think that a galaxy full of brand new stars, all freshly kindled and burning bright, would shine out blue and clean, the way young stars do, because the youngest and hottest stars glow with that cool bluish light, like the heart of a candle flame. And most young galaxies do exactly that. They wear their newness openly, glowing blue across the dark. But there are a few, tucked away in the deep, that are busily making stars faster than almost anything else in the whole universe. And yet, when you look at them, they don't shine blue at all. They glow a deep, warm, reddish gold, soft as firelight through amber glass. For a long while that puzzled us, because all that furious star-making ought to light them up bright and blue. And it turns out the answer is dust, a great thick veil of it, wrapped all the way around those newborn stars, like a warm blanket drawn close. The blue light gets caught up in that veil and softened and reddened as it filters through, so that by the time it reaches us, all that fierce young fire has mellowed into a gentle golden glow. Isn't that a soft thing to picture? A whole galaxy blazing away with new life at its heart. And yet from the outside, it only shows us this warm, quiet, honey-colored light. All its fierceness wrapped up snug and hidden behind a soft curtain of dust. Let that warm gold settle over you now, easy and slow, the color of a low fire burning down in the evening, and let it draw you a little deeper still into the quiet. And here's another that breaks a rule about where a galaxy is supposed to keep its stars. You'd think, wouldn't you, that all of a galaxy's stars would be tucked in close, gathered together in that bright, familiar shape, the wheel, or the oval, or the little cloud, with the dark and empty space stretching away all around it. And mostly that's how it is. A galaxy holds its stars close, like a hen gathering her chicks beneath her. But astronomers found one great galaxy that trails an enormous stream of stars far out beyond itself. A long, faint river of suns stretching out into the dark for hundreds of thousands of light years, far past where the galaxy's bright body ends. It's as though the galaxy had brushed past some smaller neighbor long, long ago, and gently pulled it apart, and drawn its stars out into this long, soft ribbon that still trails behind it now, glowing ever so faintly against the black. Those stars aren't lost, not really. They're still bound to the galaxy, still turning slowly with it through the ages, just spread out thin and far, like the long train of a gown trailing behind across a dark floor. And when we find one of these streams, it's a bit like finding footprints in fresh snow, because it tells us the quiet story of something that happened ages and ages ago. A slow, soft meeting between two galaxies, written out in a trail of stars that's still drifting there for us to read. Let that long, faint ribbon drift across your mind now, soft and unhurried. The great galaxy turning slowly, with its glowing train trailing out behind it into the endless calm. This next one breaks a rule about temperature, about how warm the very heart of a galaxy is meant to be. You'd think that the center of a galaxy, with all those stars packed in so close together, and that great dark giant turning at its core, would be a warm and busy place, full of heat and light and motion. And in most galaxies, it is. The center is where things gather, where the light pools thickest and the stars crowd in nearest to one another. But there are some galaxies whose hearts hold vast clouds of gas so cold that they sit only a little way above the very coldest anything in the universe can ever be. Colder than the deepest winter night you could ever imagine. Colder than ice. Colder than frost. Colder than the frozen breath of the darkest hour before dawn. And out of that terrible cold, ever so slowly, new stars are being born, kindling one by one in the frozen dark. It seems strange, doesn't it, that the warmest thing of all, a newborn star, should come out of the very coldest place. But that's just how it works. The gas has to grow cold and still and heavy before it can gather itself together and light its slow fire. The cold comes first, and then the warmth, the way the long, still cold of a winter's night comes before the soft, warm light of morning. Let that thought rest gently over you now, the deep, quiet cold of those great clouds, and the slow, warm stars kindling patiently inside them, one soft light at a time. And here's one that breaks a rule about how much a galaxy is supposed to keep for itself. You'd think that a galaxy, having gathered up all its gas over the long ages, would hold on to it, would keep it close, and use it slowly to make its stars, the way a careful cook keeps the larder stocked. And mostly that's true. Galaxies are thrifty things, hoarding their gas across the ages. But there are some, tucked in the deep, that do just the opposite, breathing out great slow fountains of gas high above themselves, sending it drifting up and out into the dark in vast soft plumes that rise for thousands upon thousands of light years before they slow and pause and come drifting gently back down again. It's a bit like the slow rise and fall of a great tide, only stretched out over such enormous spans of time that from where we sit, it looks like nothing is moving at all. The gas rises, cools, and settles back, feeding the galaxy anew, so that even as it lets its breath out into the dark, it draws it back in again in its own slow time. Nothing is truly lost. It all comes home in the end, drifting down softly to begin again. Let that slow rising and settling carry you now, the great soft fountains lifting and falling through the dark, patient beyond all telling, everything returning gently to where it began. Now let's ease toward one more, soft and slow. This galaxy breaks a rule about company again, but in the opposite way from the ones we've spoken of before. You remember how we talked about galaxies that keep a whole crowd of small companions drifting along beside them? Well, this one has none at all. It floats out in a great empty stretch of space, far from any neighbor, with nothing but the deep dark all around it for a distance so vast that it fairly staggers the mind. We call places like that the voids, the great quiet empty rooms of the universe, where the galaxies grow thin and scattered and far between. And for the longest time, we thought that a galaxy left all alone like that, with no neighbors to draw fresh gas from, no little companions to swallow and grow on, would surely fade and quiet and settle into a long gray sleep. But this one hasn't. Out there all on its own, with nothing but the emptiness for company, it goes on turning and glowing and making its stars, calm and whole and perfectly content in its solitude. There's something lovely in that, isn't there? A galaxy that needs no one, that asks for no company, that simply turns quietly along its way in the great empty dark, keeping its own soft light burning with no one near to see it. It doesn't seem lonely at all. It seems peaceful, settled, at ease in the vast quiet all around it. The way you might feel curled up alone in a warm room on a snowy night, with the whole still world stretched out silent beyond the window. Let that deep, peaceful solitude settle over you now. The single soft galaxy turning gently in its great empty room, needing nothing, wanting nothing, perfectly calm and perfectly whole. And here's another that breaks a rule about age, about how a galaxy is supposed to grow old. You'd think that as a galaxy ages, it would grow gradually redder and dimmer, its bright young stars burning out one by one, until it settled into a soft, warm glow of old suns. And that would be that. a slow and steady fading over the long ages. And most galaxies do just that, easing gently into their old age like an evening drawing slowly down toward night. But there are a few that seem to have grown old all at once, long before their time, wearing the deep red glow of an ancient galaxy, when by rights they ought to still be young and bright and busy. It's as though they lived their whole lives in a great early rush, kindling all their stars in one grand burst near the very beginning, and then simply stopped and settled and grew quiet, ages and ages before any other galaxy would think to. And now they drift there in the deep, old before their time, glowing that soft deep red, resting in a stillness they came to so very early. There's something so restful in the thought, isn't there? A galaxy that did all its living early, and then eased into a long, calm, unhurried rest, with nothing left to prove and nothing left to do, but turned slowly and quietly through the endless dark. Let that deep red stillness settle over you now, soft and warm and old beyond words, and let yourself grow heavier and quieter along with it, sinking down into the same gentle rest. And here's one last strange thing before we drift on toward the very end. This galaxy breaks a rule about shape once more, but in the softest way of all, because it hasn't got much of a shape at all. Most galaxies, as we've seen, wear a clear and lovely form: the wheel, the oval, the ring, the great flat coin of stars. But there are some, especially the small and quiet ones, that never settled into any tidy shape at all. They're just soft, shapeless little clouds of stars, drifting along in the dark, with no arms and no core and no clear edges, like a breath of mist hanging over a still pond in the early morning, or a small drift of smoke curling gently up from a candle just blown out. We call them the shapeless ones, and for a long while we thought them somehow unfinished, galaxies that hadn't yet grown into their proper form. But they aren't unfinished at all. They're simply what they are, soft and free and easy, needing no grand design to hold themselves together, drifting quietly through the ages in their own gentle way, content to be shapeless and calm. There's a kind of freedom in that, isn't there? To not need any particular shape, to simply drift along soft and easy and whole, exactly as you are. Let that softness settle over you now. The little shapeless cloud of stars drifting gently in the dark. No edges, no hurry, nothing to hold on to, and nothing to shape yourself into. Just quiet and calm and free, and let yourself drift along with it, soft and shapeless and easy, sinking deeper still into the warm, quiet dark, floating on toward the very last of the galaxies that break the rules. And here we are drifting out toward the very last of them now, the final few galaxies that break the rules, and everything slowing down, softening, the way a long day finally lets go of you when you lay your head down at night. There's no hurry left at all. We've come such a long way, you and I, out past 2 trillion galaxies and all their quiet secrets. And now, we're just easing gently home. There's one more soft, strange thing I want to show you before we let the whole sky fade. It's a galaxy that trails a tail behind it, a long, faint streamer of stars and gas drawn out across the dark. You'd think a galaxy would keep all its pieces gathered close, tucked in around itself. But this one drifts along with a gentle wake stretching out for hundreds of thousands of light years, like the soft trail a boat leaves on still water long after it's passed. It got that tail from moving, slowly and patiently, through the thin gas that fills the space between galaxies. And over untold ages, that whisper of resistance combed a little of it loose and let it float out behind. And now it sails on through the deep with its long, quiet tail streaming after it, in no distress at all, simply going where it's going, gently shedding a little of itself into the dark as it drifts. There's something so peaceful in that, isn't there? The idea that you can let a little of yourself trail softly away behind you and just keep on drifting, lighter for it, easier for it. Let that image settle over you now, the great glowing shape sailing slow through the dark with its long soft tail unspooling behind, and let yourself grow heavier and quieter as it passes. And here's another, softer still. Somewhere out in the deep, there's a galaxy that's almost all gas and hardly any stars at all. A great faint cloud of the raw stuff that galaxies are usually made from. Only it never got around to making very much. You'd think, wouldn't you, that a galaxy would take all that gas and spin it into suns, kindling star after star across the long ages the way a fire catches and spreads. But this one just holds its great soft cloud loosely, quietly, in no hurry to make anything of it. A galaxy that's mostly potential and mostly patience, drifting along full of everything it might one day become, and content, for now, simply to be. Isn't there something restful in that? A thing that doesn't need to hurry toward what it might become, that can just hold all that quiet possibility gently and drift along unbothered. Let that settle over you too, soft and slow, and sink a little deeper as you do. And now, before we let it all go, let's just drift back for a moment over everything we've wandered past tonight, softly, the way you might turn over the pictures of a long, slow journey as you're falling asleep. The great spinning wheel of stars that turns too fast, held together by something gentle and invisible we can't see at all. The ghostly ones, so thin and faint you could look straight through them to the lights beyond. The galaxies that seemed too grand and heavy for how young they were, shining out of the very morning of the universe. The black holes already enormous when they had no right to be, turning quietly at the hearts of things. The galaxy with a river of gas sliding the wrong way round, and the great glowing giant stretched across 16 million light-years of dark. And the small shy gatherings of stars so patient we can hardly believe they count as galaxies at all. The perfect ring hanging there like a wedding band on black velvet, with its hidden light in the dark moat around it. The dark galaxies, shyest things in all the cosmos, whole and real and turning without ever needing to shine. The two hearts beating slowly at a single center, spiraling closer so gently it looks like nothing's happening at all. The great glowing jellyfish easing through the deep, and the tall bright ring standing sideways in the dark, and the quenched ones that did all their living early and settled into a long, calm rest. And the little shapeless clouds, soft and free and easy, needing no grand design to hold themselves together. You see how it all goes, don't you? Every single one of them breaking some rule we thought we understood, and not one of them the least bit troubled about it. They just keep turning, keep drifting, keep glowing quietly away out there in the endless dark, doing the strange and lovely things they do, asking nothing of anyone, needing no one to watch, no one to explain them, no one to worry over whether they ought to be possible. They simply are, and that's the gentlest thought of all to carry down with you into sleep. that the universe is far stranger and far softer and far more full of quiet wonders than any of our neat little rules could ever hold, and that it's all out there right now, turning slowly and calmly along, whether we're awake to see it or not. It doesn't need us. It never did. It just goes on, patient and vast and beautiful, holding all its secrets loosely in the dark. And you don't have to hold on to any of it now. You don't have to remember a single one of these galaxies. Don't have to keep track of which one turned the wrong way or which one shone too bright. You can let them all go. Let them drift off one by one, like lights winking softly out across the dark. And just stay here, warm and heavy and easy, sinking down into the quiet. There's nothing left to picture, nothing left to follow, nothing left to do at all but rest. In a little while, when this comes gently to its end, another quiet journey will drift in softly behind it, ready to carry you along if you're still floating somewhere between waking and sleep. You don't have to do a thing to reach it. Don't have to lift a finger or open your eyes. Just let it come to you. Let it pick up right where this one leaves off. Another slow, soft wandering through the deep to keep you company through the night. So let yourself drift on without a care, knowing there's more gentle dark waiting just ahead, more quiet, more calm, more soft places to float through. And if these slow, sleepy journeys through the stars have helped you tonight, if this one has carried you softly from a busy mind toward a good night's rest, it would mean the world to me if you'd quietly subscribe so we can keep drifting off together like this, night after night. No need to do it now, though. No need to stir at all. Just tuck the thought away somewhere soft and let it wait for morning. For now, there's nothing left to do. We've come to the end of the galaxies that break the rules, all of them turning quietly on out there in the dark, without us. And here you are, wrapped up snug and safe and warm, going nowhere at all, exactly as it should be. Let your breathing stay slow and easy. Let your body grow heavier still, sinking down soft into wherever you're resting, held gently in place, calm and quiet and free. Let the last of the lights fade softly out, one by one, until there's only the warm dark left, and you, drifting easy in the middle of it, soft and shapeless and whole, needing nothing, holding nothing, simply resting. You did all your wandering tonight, and now there's only the rest. So let go of the last little thread of the day. Let it slip quietly out of your fingers and float away. And drift on down, gentle and slow, into a deep and easy sleep. Good night.